are watching PNN News and I am Siddharth Tripathi, and we begin with a tragedy that has left a deep mark on our nation. Yesterday, around midday, the historic bridge of the San Luis Rey, which was an architectural marvel that had stood for centuries, collapsed suddenly, leaving devastation. The death toll has reached 5 people, with several others being injured. The exact cause of the collapse remains unclear, but an early investigation suggests that the seismic activity in the nearby areas could have been a reason in the collapsing of the bridge. This ancient bridge was originally built by the Incas. It had weathered the elements for centuries, but could not withstand modern stress for such a long period. The rescue teams have been working throughout the evening, searching through debris in the hopes of finding survivors. Eyewitnesses described the moments before the collapse as terrifying. According to them, first they heard a loud crack, followed by a sickening drop as the bridge gave way, plunging people into the valley below. The disaster is a severe loss for the communities which relied on the bridge, as the bridge of the San Luis Rey was also a symbol of heritage and a link to the region's rich cultural past, apart from being a marvelous piece of Incan architecture which stood from generations. Authorities are promised a full investigation into the causes of this tragedy. Residents of the area have questions about whether the structure received adequate maintenance in recent years and if more could have been done to prevent this disaster. While the bridge's historical importance is undeniable, it raises concerns about the balance between preserving our heritage and ensuring public safety. We have also been hearing from the families of those missing, desperate for the news about their loved ones. For them, this tragedy is personal, as they wait for answers, hoping against hope for a miracle. For getting more information, connecting with us is our reporter Harth Kawa, who is currently present at the situation.
Thank you, Siddharth. I am standing right here at the place of the incident, and there is still an aura of shock and grief all over the place. Rescue teams are still trying their hardest to recover the missing people, hoping to defy all odds against this tragic situation. Joining me now is a bystander who was here right at the time of the bridge collapsing. Sir, would you like to answer what you were doing when the bridge collapsed? What did you see and hear?
Of course. I was in the market to buy some necessary home needs. Suddenly, I heard a loud range of sound from the side of the bridge. So I rushed towards this bridge with some others in the market to see what had happened. And I saw that this bridge has collapsed, and people on this bridge was falling into the river. While seeing them, we had a feeling of seeing ourselves in place of them. We had tried to rescue them, but it brought us all together in grief.
Okay. Could you tell how this bridge was useful to the local citizens? Like, could anyone have predicted that it could collapse?
Yeah. This bridge is in between hilly region in Lima and Cusco, and hundreds of travelers travel through this famous bridge every day. This bridge is useful to the travelers to reduce their time and distance to be traveled between these two famous places. Though some disasters like earthquakes, tidal waves are common in this place, this incident is quite surprising to all the Peruvians. No one had imagined that it could fall.
Okay, thank you, sir, for answering the question.
Thank you, Harth, for connecting us with the strangers there. Now, connecting with us is Vicente, who is live from Spain, who has lost his mother-in-law in this incident. Hi, Mr. Vicente, how are you? How are you coping up after the death of your mother-in-law?
Coping. I don't know if I'm coping. I'm just living. I'm learning to live with the realization of the reality, with the guilt, with all the unanswered questions. In my quiet times, I tend to open them and read them, the letters of love and the letters of care.
Speaking of the letters, why did you keep them safely?
How could I not? Those letters were her soul on paper, with each word and each letter burdened by the weight of her feelings that she never had an opportunity to express face to face. I keep looking at them now.
I am sorry for your loss. Well, how is Clara? We heard that Clara and her mother were not in good talking terms. Is she feeling guilty now? Is this the reason she is not coming for any interview?
See, for years, Clara had held herself away from her mother, emotionally and physically both. She did not understand the Marquesa's over admiration and her numerous letters. For Clara, her mother clung to her as if she had no other lifeline. But now something in Clara has changed. I think she's feeling guilty now. Although she may not admit it openly, hence she is keeping her distance from media.
How will her death influence the way you live your own life from now on?
Her death has left a permanent mark on me. I feel a deeper sense of responsibility to live authentically and not to take the people I love for granted. And not just me, I see a change in Clara as well. And the question that is bugging me the most is whether the life is some part of grand plan by some supreme power, or if it is just a series of fragile and disconnected moments.
Well, that's very deep, Mr. Vicente. Do you have anything to say for our viewers?
I'll only say one word. Please introspect.
Thank you, Mr. Vicente, for joining us.
Thank you.
Now we will be going live with Pericol, who is the relative of one of the deceased. Over to you, Harth.
Now with us we have Pericol, who is very closely related to Uncle Pio. So Pericol, what did you feel and think when you knew that Uncle Pio had crossed the bridge?
When I first heard that the bridge had collapsed, I didn't believe it first. He had been in my life so long. He was always like a shadow who would have been there patiently showing me the way even when I didn't want to be shown. I don't know how to picture my life without him. Uncle Pio had taught me everything from the time when I was a little girl. He had made me the actress the world loved, but I had started believing that I didn't need him any longer. I wanted something greater than the stage. I wanted status. He saw the little girl who don't know anything about the world, and yet he believed in me.
And now looking back, what impact do you believe Uncle Pio had on your life?
He forged every inch of me. Even when I was trying to shake him out of my life, his voice still remained inside my head, inspiring me, reminding me of what and who matters. He gave me my job. Yes, something more than that. I never knew that then. I was too busy being the great actress, the iconized woman. But now I realize he gave me something much bigger than the stage. He gave me his faith in me as a person, that I had understood it sooner before it was too late.
And now, do you think the bridge just collapsed, or do you think there was something more?
Perhaps it is just of all. This is a coincidence that happens by a chance, which when we try to make sense of, and we can't afford to waste time on those that don't count. We can't be such cowards as to turn our backs on someone who needs us, because as we will somehow find time for it later.
Okay, thank you Pericol for answering all the questions, and we are sorry for your loss. Thank you.
Thank you, Harth, for interviewing Pericol. Now let's go to Captain Alvarado, who is close to one of the deceased. Over to you, Harth.
Now we have Captain Alvarado, a profound traveler and a friend of Esteban. So Captain Alvarado, gazing back on the fatal collapse of the bridge, how would you explain such a catastrophic event?
It was truly hard to believe that the bridge of sand which they collapsed. That was too hard to believe that well-trusted bridge could just break. For me, Esteban is the most amazing young man, and his death burdens my mind and heart.
So how did the loss of Esteban affect you, knowing that he tried to end his life a night before?
I feel deeply disturbed by the death of Esteban. Of course, my action didn't cause the event, but the result gives me more than enough reason for concern. That reminds me how fragile life is. My work now is to comfort them and make sure we learn from the mistakes. The attempt for suicide by Esteban tugs at my heart. That he was in such pain made it even sadder. Knowing how hard he was going through and losing him so suddenly is heavy. He wanted to die one night ago and found reasons the following day to live, but only to die next morning.
And lastly, what do you think it was? Fate or a coincidence?
I want to believe it is destiny, but feels like it's coincidence in the making of this tragedy. Having profound travel experience and having seen so many things at times, I feel maybe events were in your hands, but sometimes you wonder if it's just because of coincidence. The bridge collapse seems like the most bitter twist of fate, yet it is how unpredictable life can be. And in real, what matters is our reaction and learning from these things.
Thank you, Captain Alvarado, for answering our questions.
Okay. Thank you, Har, for interviewing Captain Alvarado. Let's talk to Abbas now.
For the final guest, we have Madre Maria del Pilar, the abbess of the convent of Santa Maria Rosa de la Rosas. So, abbess, how have you dealt with the loss of Pepita and Esteban?
The loss of Pepita and Esteban has filled me with immense grief. But it is only through this very tragedy of their deaths upon that bridge that I have realized a very important thing. That the sole purpose of my life is not my mission of women empowerment. Rather, it was also to foster Pepita as an individual. In my obsession with trying to equip Pepita with every skill that she would need to be my successor, I made the mistake of not telling her how much I cared for her, not giving her enough love and support, and of overburdening her with work. And this is a regret that I shall carry on for the rest of my life.
And as Pepita is no more, who will you appoint as your successor?
It is true that in Pepita I have lost a very valuable asset. Other than her, I know no one who is capable of taking after me. But what I have realized post this incident is that there is little use in me worrying about who will take after me, who will take over my work after me. The fact of the matter is that I should just focus on doing the work right now and focus on empowering women as much as I can, without worrying about what will happen after my death. Because the truth is, I do not do the work that I do because someone seeked me out and made me do it. I do the work because of my love for it. And I firmly believe that if God really wants someone to carry on my work after me, it will be done by a person who has a similar mindset.
Okay, thank you, abbess, for answering all our questions.
Thank you, Har. I present condolences for the people who lost their lives, and as you mentioned that at this hour rescue operations are still ongoing, though the challenging terrain and the widespread wreckage are hampering efforts. As we remember those lost, the collapse of the bridge of San Luis Rey serves as a stark reminder of the fragility of life and history. What stood for centuries, a symbol of strength and endurance, can be swept away in an instant. We stand with the families and communities grieving at this heartbreaking loss. Stay with PNN News to be informed of the latest details.